Style over substance when it comes to a film is usually considered bad. So many movies that focus on style over substance and really just forego substance entirely end up with a product that's basically worthless. You look at something like Suicide Squad, yeah, it has tons of style, flashy soundtrack, cool cinematics, awesome cutaway title sequences, but the movie's just garbage because that style is surrounded with nothing. There's no substance to it. Now, sorry to bother you, this film that just came out in theaters, that has style in droves, but it also has a message it's trying to say. Every instance of style is punctuated with a point. It can be a political message, just a joke to serve the story, or maybe something just so incoherently random that I'm not able to decipher it yet, but there's definitely a point there. Now, the points it's trying to make might be a bit on the nose, and there might be too many things in the movie that it's trying to say, but you won't forget this movie leaving the theater, and you'll be talking about it for weeks to come. So the movie stars Lakeith Stanfield from films like Short Term 12 and Straight Outta Compton as Cassius Green, a mid-20s nobody kind of questioning his existence. What's the point of life? Now, he lives in this weird dystopian society where work is a commodity that is extremely hard to come by. So people are opting for these weird contracts for life where you get room and food, but you have to work your entire life until you die. That's what we're working with here in Sorry to Bother You. So Cassius Green opts out of that lifestyle in favor of telemarketing, and in doing so falls into the strangest rabbit hole you will ever see in years. This movie is fantastic because it is so unafraid to say whatever it thinks. So many movies are hesitant about courting danger and thinking they might offend somebody. This movie doesn't care. It doesn't give a shit. It does what it wants when it wants, and I love it. Now, the messages might be a little mismatched, but it is so confident in the way it says it. You're like, oh, Sorry to Bother You is so right. Because those messages are so mismatched, you will never know where the movie is going. You think you're getting a standard kind of surreal sitcom at the beginning, and it just devolves into randomness in the best way possible, don't get me wrong. But this type of film would not work well if the tone was not perfectly matched, and it is. It is hilarious, but also very thought-provoking. One scene will have you laughing to tears, another one will make you cringe so hard you wish the film would just stop. And this is all complemented with an incredible ensemble cast. Lakeith Stanfield, Tessa Thompson, Yeun, and specifically Armie are all amazing in this movie. They play this weird, extroverted, introverted sense of themselves where you really have no idea what they're going to do. But not everything works perfectly in this movie. The message is really, really on the nose. And it seems obvious at the beginning with things like his white voice, and it only gets worse as the movie really pushes and emphasizes what it's trying to say. This is director Boots Riley's first movie, and he wrote it as well, and you could tell it's a little sophomoric in the way it tries to get its themes across. What you could say about this movie is not just style over substance, but it's also style over subtlety. And even though it's awesome that you really don't know where the movie's going, part of the reason that is because plot lines are added and dropped seemingly at random. Terry Crews and Danny Glover are also in the movie, but they maybe make up 10 to 15 minutes of screen time. The movie seems to emphasize them at the beginning and then just discards them when it doesn't need them anymore. And once again, the movie is trying to have its cake and eat it too. Some of the commentary it's trying to say doesn't seem to always match up with what you're watching on screen. Specifically with Tessa Thompson's character. She seems to disregard everything that Cassius Green is saying and then perpetrate it just as much. I'm not sure what they're trying to get at, this kind of I got mine, you get yours mentality, but it's very strange. It makes you say, what? In a not so positive way. Cassius Green's storyline is very direct, but some of the other characters don't feel as completely rendered. And finally, this is a smaller complaint, which actually amounts to a lot of problems in the movie. Lakeith Stanfield cannot mouth words well. He has this white voice, but it never matches with what he's mouthing, so it feels super weird. It's really funny when it works well, and I totally dig it, because David Cross is the one voicing him, but oh god, does it just look weird when Lakeith is barely moving his mouth and these loud verbs are coming out. But that is not to say that the movie fails. In fact, it succeeds way more often than it fails. It's just with a movie this daring, you're going to have some problems. But the movie has tons of highlights as well. Honestly, once you get out of that telemarketer section, this movie just opens up into this dystopian society, and you really get to see this commentary that Boots Riley is really trying to enforce. Armie Hammer, in general, is incredible. You think he's only going to be in a bit of the movie at the beginning, and then he gets this much larger role, and he is fantastic. He's really having a renaissance lately with Call Me By Your Name as well, and I can't wait to see him in more and more movies, because he really is a talent. There's also this rapping scene, which I won't go into too much detail, because it's fantastic, but holy God, is it rough to watch. It's amazingly well performed, super well written, and I just wanted to look away. I'm not going to reveal anything, but I will say, 2/3 into this movie, you will not realize you are watching the same movie as at the beginning. That's all I'll say. Just get to that 2/3 reveal and you'll have a great time. As for suggestions, a movie this daring is going to be really hard to match up, but I tried to pick some of the key aspects that might relate to other films. So that kind of on-the-nose commentary, which I don't always dig, but some people really like. I'd go for something like Idiocracy by Mike Judge. Really funny. Terry Crews is also in that movie, and it's got this kind of surrealist, stupid, everything's kind of obvious vibe to it, but that's kind of what they're going for. For more surrealist commentary, which you don't always know what's going on, but by the end of the film you kind of want to rewatch everything, last year's Get Out. It's fantastic, directed by a breakout director just like this one, and it's going to be remembered for years to come. And then if you want a movie that you just have no idea what's going on and it just seems to make fun at everything and everyone, there's this 1970s film called The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, which is very bizarre. Watch it if you really want to get a sense of it. I can't really explain it, but it's super weird in all the good ways. Overall, Sorry to Bother You feels like a great debut effort, but it's still a debut effort. It comes with all the problems that you would expect of a debut director. It's a little overpacked, a little rushed, and a little on the nose, but it feels so fresh in today's environment when you have so many of these tired old directors that anything new is awesome. And because of this debut, I can't wait to see what Boots Riley comes up with next. If you want one of the strangest experiences you'll have in theater this year and probably the years to come, give Sorry to Bother You a try. You won't forget it.